Thank you for joining us at the Pundits. Today being Friday, 11th of June 2021. With me in the Pundit is Mr. Oluku Bienusi Matthew. And we'll be doing justice to most of the topical issues that has dominated the landscape of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Starting with the presidential speech as at yesterday before commissioning the railway in Ebute Metta. And also, we'll be looking at the tweet uh, the reply from the Senate president in regarding to the statement which he made in Abuja, which says that Nigeria needs Twitter. Also, we'll move down to Kaduna, north western part of the country, where bandits killed one and kidnapped 10 students and a lecturer from Kaduna Poli. So joining me in looking at these issues is Mr. Matthew, and we'll be looking constructively and objectively on some of these issues. Thank you, Mr. Matthew.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Looking at the headlines with the presidential speech and his reply as at yesterday, what do you make out of the reply in totality?
Thank you very much. I think looking at that presidential media chat, I think for me, holistically, I think that statement is unpresidential. It is an affront to Nigerians. For me, that statement is unbecoming of a president because I've taken pain to go through the statement of Mr. President, and I've seen that it is riddled with hypocrisy, distortion of facts. We can itemize it one after the other and see how people will look at it objectively. Now, look at when Mr. President made mention of open grazing, that he had given an order to the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, University of Malami, to ensure that they recover grazing routes for the purpose of allowing herders to continue grazing and practicing open grazing. And we all know that open grazing is no longer fashionable, not just in Nigeria, but globally it's no longer fashionable. And if you are talking of open grazing now, it is a recipe for crisis. It doesn't matter how we look at it. Quite agreed, there used to be open, there used to be forest reserves. There used to be grazing routes that was adequately and legally gazetted. But with the development and with the current status of things, it is no longer fashionable, and you cannot tell any state to allow for grazing routes to be operational the way it stands today. Because I think almost all the grazing routes and grazing reserve have been encroached either by state government or by individuals. And it is unfortunate that over the years, the government do not do anything to protect the grazing routes and grazing reserve, and it has been overtaken by events. So telling people or the government or the Attorney General of the Federation to start the process of reclaiming the forest reserve and grazing routes is a recipe for crisis, because no state will be willing to allow the herders to pass through their state for purpose of grazing, whether you say you have right through grazing route or not. Because the way it stands, Nigerians are already having that feeling that they are not safe cohabiting with Fulani herdsmen. And another angle to it is Mr. President have alluded to the fact that there are Fulani herdsmen who go about with AK-47 and some other sophisticated weapons, which he have said that most of them come from outside the country, like Mauritania, maybe Burkina Faso, Mali, Libya, Niger, and so on and so forth. Mr. President have alluded to the fact that this category of Fulani herdsmen exist. And he said that this one comes in from the border. The question is, why should Mr. President, who have the mandate and authority to command the armed forces, allow people to be coming through the Nigerian border, respective borders, with AK-47, enter into the regular society and be terrorizing and traumatizing Nigerians? That is on one hand. Then another issue is That is why I say it is really with hypocrisy. Because Mr. President said that 2 southwestern governors came to him with a complaint about the activity of henchmen in their states.
Yes.
That he sent them back, challenging them that they were elected as governors, that they should go and resolve the issue.
Yes.
Here we are in Nigeria, we are seeing the controversy that have trade state security architecture arrangements, like Amatekun, for instance. We are seeing how federal government, through the Inspector General of Police, have vehemently, repeatedly, continuously saying that the Amatekun and some other state security outfit do not have the right to bear arms. So if you are a state governor and you go up by the name of the governor and chief security officer of the state, and you don't command security power, so why should the Mr. President be telling the governor to go and resolve an issue where you know that the purview of the power to do it is not within his reach?
But the president made allusion that some of these state governors come to collect 300 million for security vote. And let me quote the president's statement in exact word. He said, 2 southwest governors came to me to say cattle rearers are destroying farms in their states. I asked them, what happened to the grassroots? What happened to the grassroots security panel? From traditional rulers to local government rulers to local government who meet regularly to identify the root of their problem. Well, sorry for the break in transmission, and our sincere apologies. And for viewers at home who want to join us in the conversation, you want to have your opinions to be heard on this platform, this is the only platform that is a TV platform that also open lines through for viewers to call and to hear their opinion. So you can join us by calling into the studio with the number 0902 conversation. So Mr. Matthew, we stopped at where we're trying to look at the presidential statement and his reply to the state governors, which were the southwest governors, in categorization. He specifically said, and I was trying to read, 2 southwest governors came to me to say cattle rearers are destroying farms in their state. I asked them what happened to the grassroots security panel, from traditional rulers to local government, who met regularly to identify the roots of their problem and identify crooks within the government and apprehend the criminals who destroy the system. Go back and fix it. Give your people sense of belonging. I do not like it when people campaign to become governors and people trusted them with their vote, and after winning they can't perform. They are trying to push responsibility to others. We have 3 tiers of government: federal, state, and local. We have killed the local government totally. We sent 300 million as allocation to a local government. One governor, we asked the local government chairman to sign that he collected 300 million, but he will give him 100 million and the chairman will keep quiet. Is that how we will continue? Looking at the president's reply, can we say the president made a point in terms of the 300 million received to a local government and 100 million is given to the local government chairman?
Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel. You see, I think in fairness to Mr. President, the governors are a major problem in Nigerian politics, in Nigerian democracy, especially when it comes to issue of this local government autonomy. The governors, they conspire against the third tier of government, which is the local government.
But the governors too sometimes tell you that the federal, if you look at resource of federal states.
In this particular issue, the governors are culpable. I will tell you why. This issue of joint account between the state governments and the local government is stampeding development. Just like Mr. President rightly said, at the end of every month, all the state government through their respective accountant generals will go to Abuja for the purpose of receiving what is due to the state and for the local government. And what the law says that if you go to the federal government, you receive what is due to your state and what is due to that local government, to the local governments in your state. When you come back to your state, there's a particular percentage of your internally generated revenue you add to what you receive on behalf of the local government for the purpose of distributing to the local governments. But unfortunately, what the states governors do is, by the time they receive what is due to the local government in their respective states, come back to the state, reappropriate what is originally appropriated to the local governments. They will not even give them what is due to them from Abuja. That is where Mr. President is referring to. And unfortunately, Mr. President have not shown the willpower to even exert his authority and allow the third tier of government, which is local government, to have that financial autonomy. I could recall only recently when the issue of local government and judicial autonomy came up. It is not even local government. When the issue of judicial autonomy and legislative autonomy came up, Mr. President signed an executive order, Order 10. And what that order seeks to do is, if in a particular month, at the end of a particular month, the money that is due to judiciary in data state, for instance, and legislative arm of government in data state, for instance, if the governor and the executive refuse to give it to them, the preceding month, that the Accountant General of the Federation reserve right to deduct from source what is due to those two arms of government in data states and what was not given to them in the previous month, and give it to them directly from Abuja. But unfortunately, all the governors conspired against Mr. President, and Mr. President rescinded that decision, and that order have been lying in limbo.
But in fairness, Mr. Matthew, let's be practical. Some governors have listened to the governors are much in numbers, using irrespective of parties, will come together to hold down the president. But if you look at it, some governors have also argued that there are issues that the president as well should have allowed to fly. He was quick to allow judiciary to be independent.
I quite agree with you,
because
staying on the presidential speech for the purpose of this discussion, Mr. President is not patriotic with that his speech, to the extent that it's mark of a man who is operating on a double standard. This statement is riddled with hypocrisy. It is unpresidential, because on one hand, you are telling the governors to go and provide solution in what is happening in their state with respect to security. On another hand, you refuse to allow them, allow the state security operators bear arm for the purpose of protecting the people.
And on the other hand,
and you see the way it stands, there is no way we can see effective policing at the state and local government level until you allow the state governor to exert authority and have security power. Because that security power should not just be in principle, it should be in practice. A governor cannot just be answering the chief security officer of the state. I could recall Jonah Jan, as a governor of Plateau State, say he do not command even as a governor. Wike the other day was saying that he is they address him as the chief security officer of the state. He said no, but rather he's the chief logistic officer of the state, because he sees himself at times as going concern, give fund to police for purpose of advancing security.
But there are arguments that sometimes if the governors want to,
Fulani is a common denominator.
Okay.
Don't forget that Mr. President have alluded to the fact that he is a Fulani.
Yes, definitely.
Nobody is arguing that.
Yes,
it's a statement of fact.
Maybe that's why some people are saying is biased.
Don't forget that there is an allegation that Fulani herdsmen are operating, that the federal government is not exerting its authority to curtail the excesses of Fulani herdsmen.
But if we look at insecurity generally, it is not only Fulani that the federal government have not been able to curtail their excesses.
If you look at, generally speaking, Fulani herdsmen, though I didn't conduct any survey, but looking at it, they constitute up to 70% of the security challenge we are facing in this country. Why did I say so? The Southwest here is basically Fulani that is igniting the crisis. What gave rise to ESN of today is the excesses of Fulani herdsmen. In the Middle Belt, in fact, that has been the epicenter of the crisis of Fulani herders and host communities. So what I was saying, you see that what they call bandits in Zamfara, in even the presidential home state, Katsina, in Kaduna, Sheikh mystified to make us understand that these are Fulani herdsmen who claim that their cars have been rustled. They not take it as an excuse to take to crime. So what I'm saying generally is that Mr. President is being sincere to Nigerians, because what he needed to do is to allow this. Let me tell you this: if Governor A, for instance, go and look for a way to acquire arms and ammunition for the purpose of his security outfit, to combat headers and criminals in this. They will say that they will see him as somebody who is committing treasonable felony. The same federal government will accuse him of treasonable felony and will use federal might against him. And the same federal government is telling state governors, you get the point at where I'm going.
Because from one of the committee, journalists asked the president, but there are senior officers that will leave because of new service chiefs. No, actually, that was not the one I wanted to ask. The one I wanted to ask was the one relating to the appointment of the current chief of army staff. And from the president reply, he said
talk about merit.
Yes, merit that
those things are fallacious. They are statements of fallacy. Because it didn't start today. I said this government, the way it stands, they have made nepotism their hallmark, unfortunately. And it's unfortunate that when people like us talk, they make us look as if we're opposition to the people or to the government. We're only being patriotic because you cannot be violating the very constitution that make you the president. You see, if you have 17 key positions in security arrangement of the country, and you are giving 14 to a section of the country, only 3 to another part of the country, that is pure nepotism, just opposing it with federal character entrenched in the Nigerian constitution. By all standard, that is nepotism. And if you look at the way Nigeria is, you have 3 major ethnic groups: the Hausa, the Igbo, and the Yoruba. Look at from the National Security Advisor to the least position, you have like 5 ministers from the Southeast. I agree. If you come to the issue of ministerial appointment, the hand of Mr. President is tied by the Constitution, because the Constitution says you must have 1 person from each state. So to that extent, Mr. President have not done any state any favor by giving them ministerial position.
Because the Constitution is clear on that.
Yes. Now, looking at it from another angle, Mr. President was telling Nigerians that if they need job, they should behave themselves. I begin to ask, where and how did our Nigerian youth be behaving? Which area did Mr. President and this government create job or intended to create job, and the youth are truncating it? I could recall when Twitter was coming into Africa, Nigeria was supposed to be that destination by our standard, looking at the percentage of Nigerians who are on Twitter. So there was no basis for even going to Ghana in the first place. But they cited that Ghana is a champion of democracy, and that Nigeria has a history of human rights violation.
In looking at that context, is Ghana truly a champion of democracy in comparison to
Ghana?
Nigeria?
May not have gotten there, but what we see in Nigeria, I don't think it's as insistent in Ghana as we see it in Nigeria.
Obviously not.
So I think that best explains the reason a Twitter prefer Ghana for Nigeria. To Nigeria, I mean to say. Now, you see, foreign investors, there are so many things they look at. They look at what is the tendency that my right will be protected in this country. And I've seen instances where people's right is being trampled on. If a government is trampling on the right of its own citizens, you as an investor, you think twice before coming there to invest.
Let me call the phone lines again.
Okay.
For those of the viewers at home who wants to be part of this conversation, who want their opinions to be heard, you can get through to us using the number 0902553714. 0902553714. So you're going to call in for your opinions and comments. It probably might be diverse from that of the analysts in the house, or maybe from my own opinion as well. So we'll need you to call in and also hear your views. So, Mr. Matthew, we're talking about Nigeria.
Okay, let's look at it from another angle. Mr. President talked about NSAS protesters wanted to unseat him. One begin to ask, because in my widest imagination, I don't think it's true. Perhaps that is the reason you saw military personnel went to Lekki toll gate and opened firearm on defended
because Nigerians. The president believed they want to
because
unseat him.
He thought it was a coup. And
so
that is an erroneous impression.
If coup want to start, is it from toll gate?
Is it not surprising? So you see the kind of nation, the country we are. A situation where there are so many instances in the history of Nigeria where Amnesty International would indict Nigerian government, indict Nigerian police, Nigerian army, Nigerian DSS. Instead of the government doing the needful to do a proper investigation and bring the culprit to justice, to book, the government will target Amnesty International, a partisan organization.
But are we going to say that ordinarily was the Nigerian structured to do the right thing, mere looking at us as a people?
I think the problem is people who are running the affair of the country. The problem is not even about though the constitution is an issue, but if you follow what we have to the later, there will be sanity to an extent in the society. But the problem is that the government is circumvent the rule. The government willfully circumvent the rule just to make sure they have their way. By our standard, is it not incumbent on the government to protect the very constitution that bring them into office? By asking Nigerians not to use Twitter, is it not infringement on their rights? When there are relevant sections of this constitution that talks about freedom of expression. So what I would say, if you have a president who is willfully violating the constitution just because you know that impunity reigns in Nigeria and nobody can challenge him, it's like you are looking for anarchy. Because look at what is happening currently. People who are using VPN to bypass Twitter, there is already a civil disobedience in Nigeria against the government order. So an order that's illegal anyway.
So looking at the presidential speech in summary now, it has been characterized by double standard and hypocrisy, especially if you look at it from the area of his response to herdsmen, his area of appointment, his area of the job creation, and even to NSAS. Would you say that the advisors of the president, one way or the other, because I know there probably would have been a proofreading of some of those things he said before even coming to the media, would you say that the advisors are doing a bad job, or
I think it's a function of,
because it's the president himself that knows what he's actually
Mr.
doing.
President actually spoke his mind that yesterday. So I think it's a function of who the president is. I think Mr. President is an unrepented ethnic bigot. I think Mr. President, because by our standard, these are tendencies that characterize his regime as a military head of state. So if there's still prevalence in a democratic setting, it shows that that is who he is. It shows that he's not likely to change. For unfortunately, for his handlers and his proponents who canvassed vote for him during the national campaign and presented him as a Democrat, they are proving Mr. President have proven they're wrong. That he's not a Democrat.
Some of them are still saying that change is coming. That the president...
because they want to protect their job, not because things are working, not because democracy is working in Nigeria, because they want to protect their job. Because the way it stands, if you speak against the government and you are in the government, you lose your job. That is what it is. So they are only saying most of those things because they want to secure their job. They want to keep themselves in the government. But I think what is paramount is the constitution is very clear. Section 14, subsection 2B of 1999 Constitution as amended says that security and welfare of Nigerians shall be primary purpose of governance.
Yes, true.
So when a government is failing in this cardinal area, is it not glaring? So what else do we need?
I can even remember the president some years back, before I think 2012, between 2012 and 2014, telling the former president, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, to resign. We cannot.
Thank you very much.
So
they even made good use of social media,
including the Twitter,
to advance their opinion, to run their campaign, to even run campaign of calumny, to run hypocrisy against other people.
So can it be said that maybe the Nigerian system was not structured for anything truthful?
No, I think looking at it, it is a function of who are minding the affairs of the country. And if you look at Jonathan, I think Jonathan was more of a Democrat.
So what was the factor that made him behave in that manner? Is it education or exposure? Or because he never had a military experience?
But Jonathan too wasted a very good opportunity to right the wrong in Nigeria.
Considering the...
You see, this issue of constitutional amendment, that you must need a presidential assent before it becomes a law. The Senate, as at then, amended that section of the Constitution and say that if there is any constitutional amendment, that you don't need presidential assent, that it automatically becomes law. Jonathan, for reasons best known to him, refused to assent to it. The National Assembly under leadership of David Mark went to court, tried to override him. Going by the tenets of the constitution, they have right to override them. Instead of him allowing them override, if he didn't want to assent to it, he took them to court. The issue was pending in court when he left office. So meaning Jonathan squandered that opportunity. Nigerians would have been freed from the bondage of presidency and president now. I'm not saying it because Buhari is there. Anybody that has used that office as a president tomorrow will equally wield that enormous power against Nigerians. We are talking about 68 items on exclusive legislative list, including this security that is holding everybody in bondage. If Jonathan had allowed that constitutional amendment to stay through, National Assembly needed not to go to a Buhari or another person who will assume that office to say, Mr. President, assent to this bill to become a law. You can spend all the days, all the resources, all the time on constitutional amendment. It goes back to the respective states House of Assembly because you need to tell majority of the 36 states of House of Assembly. Even after getting that, you must go back to Mr. President for assent. And now ask a question. Look at the rigor of this current constitutional amendment that is going on. As we speak, we have over 200 bills waiting for presidential assent. True. And there's no guarantee that Mr. President will assent to it.
Even after,
so what is the guarantee? Thank you. What is the guarantee that Mr. President will assent to whatever comes out of this process of constitutional amendment?
So which means it's just, maybe it's a cosmetic approach to buy time.
They just want to keep Nigerians busy discussing, not that they want to do anything.
So what's the way forward now? Because
the way forward is this. I think Nigerians should come in unison and tell the government that enough is enough. Give us to federalism, or let this country split into three.
So who are the Nigerians that will come into unison? Because for every subject of conversation, the North, if you demand this, will see it differently. We've seen it during the NSAT. Some people, even in Abuja, precisely, have forgotten the name of the young man. They said they want SARS in the North.
Are you saying the government is not aware that a Sunday boy is leading an agitation?
The government somehow believes that it's because of political reasons.
But whatever happens, he's leading an agitation.
The North and even the Northern Elders Forums came out to say that the agitation is against Buhari.
Anybody can say anything, but the issue is that what message are they passing? What is the objective that as to what the conversation we are hearing from them? It is clear.
Definitely.
Because discussing about unity of Nigeria, it doesn't mean you want to bring an end to Nigeria.
It's true. That might even be a solution to the agitation.
Of course. But a situation where any day, anytime anybody writes to say, I want true federalism, I want secession, I want a Dual Republic, I want Biafra Republic, Nigerian government will use sledgehammer
means to kill
against the person. Not minding that there is a UN charter that Nigerian government is a signatory to. Article 1 of UN Charter that Nigerian government is a signatory to that guarantees self-determination as long as you are doing it within the ambit of the law. I've been saying it. Look at what accumulated before we saw Nnamdi Kanu ran away from the country. He was moving from region to region, from state to state, from one local government to another, drumming support for Biafra Republic.
Okay, Mr. Matthew, I think we have our first caller for today, okay. So we'll make it brief with the caller. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Matthew. This is James calling from Italy.
Mr. James calling from
Italy.
Italy, yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you for joining the Pundits.
Doing a good job. I pray you guys be your limit as soon as possible.
Thank you very much, sir.
One thing you guys are discussing there about Nigeria is true. You know, like me now, I'm above 40. Before I traveled, I witnessed a lot of things, and I had some little experience military because I served before I left Nigeria. So most of these things you guys are discussing about Nigeria, I don't discuss it with people. Even these guys, many of these many people on platforms, I don't like discussing it because this thing has been there ever since. It's not today something. It has been there. But the only problem is that it's like a case of gunpowder. Somebody will just go and light the matches for it to be free. It's just like Buhari and some people around him, you know, they have been there. Even our southern elite are aware of it. These things have been there. So we just pray, maybe somehow, there will just be a cosmetic something to just get things calm down. You know? These things have been there and nobody can change it. It is destined to be so. Except break up. Not break up. Nothing can change the system. We that we entered military those days, we know what we saw there, how everything is. But inside the military, it's even worse there. Even if how they do their recruitment is different from the way we found out. It's none of it.
Hello, Mr. James. Hello, sir.
Yeah, you hearing me?
Okay, better now.
Should I go on?
Okay, go on, Mr. James. You have barely 1 minute, sir.
Okay, just want to keep. I think the things you guys are saying as a civilian, the one happening inside the military is even worse.
Wow.
Starting from how they do the recruitment, the number of people they take from the north is not from the number of people they take from the south. Wow. You know? So a lot of things is being one-sided. It's just like Buhari out of one thing or the other. People around him, we will say they misled him and he has interest in the kind of advice they are giving him. People are doing like he said, everybody knows. You know? So some of those advice they are giving him is in tone with those advice. Because if he's not in tone with those advice, he will not buy it from the advisors around him. You know? You have people like Abacha those days. Not every advice you give Abacha says. You know? So he too is a military man. But he seems to dance to the Fulani tools. That is why all these things are happening now. This thing, if they want these kids to stop, if the Fulani elite, the Menta elite come out today and say, let this bandit stop, they start criticizing those Fulani bandits. This is, but we can never see them doing it because if they do it, it's like they're doing it against their political gains.
Okay, Mr. James. Yes, thank you very much for your contribution.
Okay.
Yes, so you can call back, but we want to try and let other callers to have access. Thank you very much. That was Mr. James. He was in the army, and he said that what is even happening in the army is worse than what we're seeing as civilians, from recruitment to posting and some other things he mentioned. So now the question is, can we get a solution to the problems we are having, or the problems seems to be compounding every day? Because if you check what happened before the war between 1967 and 1970, it was more of an ethnic group, the Biafra. But if you check from the agitation from North Central in recent time, if you check what is going on in Southwest in recent time, now add it up with the militancy that jobs went down a little bit, and they've been giving out statements in recent time with the IPOP Biafran group in recent time. Do we really want to stay together, or we should be blunt enough to discuss our existence? I've asked to some, I personally, it's my personal opinion, I don't know what really brings us as a people, that we don't have the same language, we don't have the same culture, we have this thing. Then, in fact, we don't even want to be one, even though there is similarities.
Actually, by providence, if you look at natural unifying factor, you have language, you have culture, you have religion. So it tells you that Nigerians, they are not meant to be one. Bible said that if by circumstance we find ourselves to be under one umbrella, Nigeria, it should be by agreement, not by somebody sitting somewhere and forcing everybody to come together as one, and not by somebody sitting somewhere writing a constitution and say, we the people of Nigeria, the constitutional review, and we'll be part of the people who will draft the constitution. So it's not about the Southerners or the Northerners or whatever.
No, it's about to favor a particular set of people against the other.
And there was little or nothing anyone could do at that time, because if you can't, of course, you know, military, they make use of decree. They can even set aside the constitution, or the president or the military president can just wake up from his bed and issue a decree, and it stands. You can imagine Decree 4 of Okay.
Sorry, for viewers at home who want to be part of the conversation, you can please call us on 090255 37142. 090255 37142. So go
So
on,
a
Mr. Matthew.
Buhari, the military head of state, issued a decree 4, and that.
Hello. Hello, good evening. Please, maybe you move away from the area you're staying because the reception is feeding back. So sorry about that. I think the net's crappy. So as we were saying, you were talking about the president giving a decree 4.
Yes, and that decree gave Nigerian government as at that time power to arrest and imprison any journalist who publish or who say anything that the government consider offensive. So that is to the extent of bad the military era was. So if the military then came up with the idea of a constitution, it is not about whether you are consonant with it or not. It's about what they want to do, and you must accept it or they whip you into line.
Okay, so in summary, what's the way forward now? Because in looking at some of these issues, though we've outlined so many issues from
the way forward is this:
the double standard of the presidency and so many other.
The way forward is this: it is not about a Buhari, it's about the Nigerian people. The people have rights to decide how they want to be governed, and the people have right to demand for a brand new constitution. The people have right to demand for people's orientation. The people have right to ask the government that we want to return back to regional governments. 1963 constitution, because the current status quo is not working, and it gives undue advantage to some region of the country against some other part of the country. So what we are saying is the government must allow the voice of people to be heard. The government must listen to the people, and the government must be willing and ready to do the demand of the people.
Okay.
That is the only way we can see solution to this security challenge in the country.
Thank you, Mr. Matthew. Thanks for your candid submissions on the presidential speech. Moving ahead, we're looking at the Senate president in about 3-4 hours ago gave his own stand on Twitter ban. He emphatically said that Nigeria needs Twitter. Let me quote the statement of the Senate president. He said, and I quote, that the Senate finally broke its silence on the federal government ban on Twitter microblogging platform on Friday. Let me go straight to the statement of the Senate president, which he categorically said. He said this in a news briefing while talking to the journalists in Abuja. He said, the Senate was convinced that the federal government and Twitter would eventually resolve their differences. He said, the Honorable Minister of Information, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, has informed Nigerians that the government is talking with Twitter to resolve the matter. Our belief is that Nigeria needs Twitter, just as Twitter needs Nigeria. We believe that the matter between Nigeria and the federal government of Nigeria will be resolved. But beyond that, I am an optimist. I believe all of us will have learned our lesson. That was his concluding statement. So what do you derive from the action of the Senate president in relation to what happened in the House of Representatives, that Femi Gbajabiamila shut down Honorable representing, I think, Rivers State, Honorable Chinda, and saying that he has directed,
please, the executive, because they always want to be in the good book of the executive, because they all knew the fate that befell Saraki when Saraki wanted to exert the authority of the Senate, of the National Assembly, as an arm of government that had the mandate to exert check and balance on the executive. Having said that, I think a Lawa would have seen the reaction trailing the ban. And he has seen that the government, by all standards, have goofed. I think that best explains the reason he tried to tread with caution. Because if you look at it by all standards, whether globally, locally, or standard. We have looked at the UN.
Look at
UN Act, UN Act
yes,
that talks about that you do not have rights. That is a
Declaration of Fundamental.
UN Act, UN Universal Declaration on Human Rights, telling you that everyone have right to expression and opinion, and that this right includes to hold opinion and to hold opinion,
Freedom of speech.
to hold opinion without discrimination. You understand? And that if you look at Nigerian Constitution, there are relevant sections of the Constitution that guarantee freedom of speech. Section 36 of Section 12 of Nigerian Constitution as amended guarantee freedom of expression, freedom of speech. So what I was saying, I think a Lawa would have seen that the government position is unpopular. And he wants to play to the gallery, to be in the good book of Nigerians. I think perhaps that best explains the reason he
took that action.
Yes. But having said that, I think he should go beyond that. Because by all standard, by virtue of the position he occupies, we know what he can do.
Yes.
There's nothing stopping a Lawa going to the National Assembly, Senate for that matter, and let the Senate have a resolution. Just like Honorable Chinda was saying, that they urge the executive. They are not even compelling.
The urge.
Urge. He stressed that word, urge.
3 times.
Yes. So let them urge Mr. President and the executive arm of government to rescind that decision.
It's true, because if you look at it, as Twitter being the most worrisome activity that has characterized our landscape as a people currently, I don't think that has been.
That is the problem. So what we are saying is, I think, because if you look at it, even up to yesterday, American government position is very clear.
Even the Canadian government,
that
British
you
government
cannot stampede on the people's rights. Freedom of expression, to hold opinion, is a right of the people.
One other question while you're deliberating: why is it that those who criticize more on a particular decision of government, when they are not in power, immediately they get to power, this direct same thing they criticize on or talk about is what they do? Because we can start going on and on to mention names back then.
I will even mention name for you. You see, what you just said is unfortunate, because let's even use our vice president for instance. I respect him so much, but it's somebody who as Attorney General of Lagos State and Minister of Justice in Lagos State
took the federal government
to court, or to Supreme Court, to ensure that they exert the authority of the state to adjudicate over the 30 of government. I mean the local government.
Yes.
Now, since Oshibanjo became the vice president of Nigeria, I've never seen him to have made mention of true federalism.
No.
I've never seen him talk about devolution of power.
No, while you're eating, you're not meant
to
talk.
So I don't know whether I begin to ask myself, what is the problem? And I want to see Osibanjo tomorrow after leaving office. I want to see his pedigree. I want to see what he will say when it comes to issue that has to do with true federalism, devolution of power, how to advance democracy in Nigeria. I want to see what he will say. Because for me, by now, I think I should be seen as an Osibanjo, who is a professor of law, to be advancing the cause of true federalism.
That he was supporting while he was not in power.
So that is what I'm saying.
What kind of human beings, and is he a character problem?
I think that brings us to my statement yesterday, that this political class, these elites, they conspire against the common man because of their pecuniary interests. But I think at that level, they no longer think about the downtrodden, the man on the street, the Okada man, the roadside mechanic, the artisan. They no longer think about them.
So, and you think if that continues with what we are having, the country will be... We saw what happened during the EndSARS.
The EndSARS is just like
a tip of the iceberg.
Because if they allow, they put Nigerians to war, I don't think they will be able to handle the reaction.
But most of these people have visas in other countries. They are
It's immaterial. It's immaterial.
But so most of them fly, they fly out of the country.
If there is crisis in Nigeria, it can get to the level that even the airport will be shut. Don't forget that some people were making their way towards the airport during that answers. So what we are saying is, it's not about you having the resources and whatever it takes to fly easily out of the country. It's about the consequence of your action.
Sorry, for those of for viewers at home who want to join the conversation, you can please call on the phone number 090-255-37142. 090-255-37142. I haven't deliberate on the Senate President's statement. Let us quickly move on to Kaduna, where insecurity, it was reported recently that bandits killed a student, kidnapped 10 students, and a lecturer in Kaduna Polytechnic. So, insecurity again, now we are back. So what's your take on it, looking at the insecurity in this country?
My take is, I have disdain for the approach of the issue by Kaduna State government. Because this is a governor whom I've taken pain to look at his activities as a governor. This is somebody who was quoted to have said that at a point they wanted to bomb bandits, use air raid on bandits, even if it means killing some of the students that were adopted at that time. So if you now begin to ask yourself, where do you place the value for human life? I quite agree with the school of thought that says that if you continue paying ransom, kidnapping will continue. But under a scenario where you already have innocent students in captivity, do you not justify not paying ransom to sacrifice those students on the altar of you don't want to pay ransom? I don't think it was a right decision. Then I've seen the wife of the Kaduna State governor recently said that even if she's kidnapped, that no one should pay ransom. I was laughing. I said, I think the woman knows what to do. Now I challenge her. Now that some persons have been kidnapped in Kaduna State, let her volunteer
and bring her children to those public schools.
Not her children. Let her use herself to replace
those children,
those students, and advise government not to pay ransom to secure her release.
It was reported. Let me just take an excerpt from Punch. He said, a student have been confirmed dead, while scores were adopted following bandit attack on the main campus of New Bamali Polytechnic, Zaria, Kaduna State on Thursday night. The bandit, in large numbers, were said to have invaded the main campus of the school at about 11 p.m. and kidnapped no fewer than 10 persons, 2 lecturers, and 8 students. It was gathered that the bandits raided the staff quarters of the school, shooting indiscriminately at anyone on site. The State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Aruwan, after on-the-spot assessment, confirmed the attack. Now, the question is, where were the security agencies, our police,
you see,
our army? We have DSS, we have, in fact, we have NSCDC.
Let us even start from the DSS. By our standard, looking at the security arrangement in Nigeria, DSS is supposed to do intelligence gathering. So it is possible that through intelligence gathering, they would have gathered information about this impending attack, and it will be nipped in the bud. But we are not seeing all this.
Now, for viewers at home who want to join the conversation, please, you can call the phone number 090-255-37142. 090-255-37142. Thank you, Mr. Matthew.
So,
yes.
If this will even ultimately bring us back to state police, but let's leave that for now. I think the DSS, they are not doing their job. Because why do we have DSS that is supposed to mix up with the regular society for the purpose of intelligence gathering, and we see crime being perpetrated on a daily basis? I don't say that the government on its own, they are not helping issue. And the Kaduna State government have been very firm on his position. One, that they will not pay ransom. Two, that they will kill all the bandits. And everybody have said that the bandits have lost life, right to life, that they need to wipe them off.
Exactly.
I'm not arguing that. But in the interim, when you do not have what it takes to wipe them off, what is the fate of those students who are kidnapped?
That now brings me to a question, because looking at the system, for every political system, should we draft policies or constitutional amendment to fit our peculiarity? Maybe Adibin, the governor's son, attends the same public school. Maybe that would have made those in governance, or maybe the politicians, to also be more careful in fixing infrastructure in some of these public institutions.
But again, I agree with some powerful Nigerians may be feeding fat from this insecurity. That may be the reason we are not seeing end of this myriad of insecurity. Because look at this Shegumi of a person who have severally canvassed and pleaded for on behalf of the bandits. Can you imagine that Shegumi was telling CBN to pay 100 million to secure the release of kidnapped students? He was even the one deciding the government agency, the government parastatal, or being the one killing bandits.
And he was not picked up by the DSS.
That is where that double standard is even come to the fore. So what we are saying is, I think this government should rise above ethnic bigotry and do the needful. Because if you look at that one of justice, where it balances is where the justice judgment will be delivered. That's the essence of using that symbol of justice. That woman that is blindfolded. By implication, the woman do not know who is involved. It to be fair in her judgment. So I think the same manner is what Mr. President should emulate. Irrespective of whose earth is God. If you see yourself as the president of Nigeria, you should behave in like manner. Not we seeing your action portraying you as a sectional leader. Because I cannot be confident to say Muhammadu Buhari is the president of Nigeria the way it stands. Because he is not representing the interests of the generality of Nigerians the way from what I can see.
From deduction, because sometimes when I read some of these headlines, it becomes more worrisome. Can we say, as a people, because aside the fact that we're talking about the elite class, these people are product of the society. People have some of these guys as brothers, as sisters. I think we have a caller trying to call in. We'll try as much as possible to make this brief as much as we can. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. How are you?
Fine, good afternoon. What's your name, sir? You are on live on the Pundits.
My name is Tunaija. I called in yesterday.
Okay, Tunaija.
Yeah, I just heard the gentleman there say something about Buhari being a little bit too sectional and stuff like that. So
Okay.
I wanted to ask you a question.
Okay.
In the north and in the south, where has life been lost most during Buhari's term in office?
In the south.
In the north, come again with the question.
Or in the south, where has the casualties of all the insecurity come from during Buhari's term in office?
Are you saying I should compare the south and the north, or within the south alone?
No, within the north and the south, because
Okay, I get you. I get your question.
So when we start, you see, what we are accusing Buhari of is exactly what you are doing. You don't look at the numbers. You accuse Buhari of being sectional and all the rest of it. But when you know that Boko Haram has resulted in the death of so many northerners, so many northern villages, many of them are even going to Cameroon or outside the country. You know what happens in Niger. You know what happens in Kaduna. Kaduna, so many people have been kidnapped there. It's ridiculous. So you are accusing, we Nigerians, we are accusing somebody of stuff while we are doing the same thing. And one thing about democracy that Nigerians don't understand is that democracy, yes, Nigeria wrote it into the constitution that it has to be national character. Remember remember, Trump, when he got into office, who did he elect? He put his children in office. He put his in-law in office. Most of the people he put surrounding him are the people that he likes and the people that he trusts. When Obama got into office, he put a lot of black people in key positions. So this is how democracy works. In the UK here, the woman that the prime minister is going out with is being investigated because the prime minister gave her some sweet deals.
To Niger, you have about 1 minute so that you can just.
I want to engage him.
Okay.
Yes. The point I'm trying to make here is that the people we envy, the people we say we want to be like, we really don't know them.
To Niger, can you respond to this question? To Niger, can you respond to this question? Does it behove on Mr. President, whether in the south or in the north, to protect life and property? Who have the mandate?
100%.
Who have the mandate to protect Nigerians, whether in the south or in the north?
The president.
And who should take the blame when that protection is not forthcoming?
The president.
I thank you for that answer. You can go on.
Okay. Please.
I accept that he is responsible for security and he is failing Nigerians because they say the results is not good. Obviously, we can see the results.
Allah is
It's not good. But we also have to understand that when you say the DSS, they are not doing their job, it's the same issue that I raised yesterday because they don't have enough people. Nigeria is 200 million people. We have security forces that are so tiny. We are not being fair to our own people.
Okay. To Niger.
We have to be fair.
Okay. To Niger, thank you very much for your contributions, and we probably would also reply to some of your.
You see, to Nigeria, I am happy he acknowledged that Mr. President had the responsibility to protect life and property. So, and however I look at it, no one is trying to vilify Mr. President. What we are saying is that if you have a responsibility to deliver on a mandate, it behoves on you to do it. You have, whether we like it or not, life is sacrosanct. We cannot be laughing over people losing their life in number. As we speak, there is systematic genocide going on in Benue State. And the government is not addressing it.
In order to, because I love the part, in this kind of discussion, what I've noticed is people have different reasons and opinions for coming in with different submissions. And we all have right for different submissions. But the truth still remains that I noticed that Nigerians, the elites, so many people are good at picking up a sample from developed world of some wrongdoings. Nobody is saying the developed world are perfect, but Nigerians are so quick, very quick to pick up some, maybe, Trump appointed this, Obama appointed. Now the question we should be asking, the question we should be asking, which is, I love those kind of argument and I like engaging in such. What is the security level of what was obtainable in America? Are they delivering? Were they having this kind of insecurities? So you pick an element of maybe something that, in fact, if it was they were delivering and we don't have this challenge, maybe we wouldn't have even been looking at the ethnicity.
People even tell you that you are not justified to argue. But it's not where you are not seeing results.
You see government and people, for reasons best known to them, will pick up, and just like when Adamu Garuba said China blocked Twitter, and I looked at it. Do you know the numbers of social platforms from China? Do you know their level of technology within the landscape of what the citizens enjoy in comparison to Nigeria? When you pick an element to favor, you pick the whole. Pick all. So let's now start comparing one after. I was telling one of my friends in the UK. He said, it's really not easy. I said, guy, come back. I mean, guy, we were here together. We know what was up to. It's not easy there. Are Nigerians saying it's easy anywhere in the world? 80% of Nigerians that leave this shore, which majorly in most cases are really not doing fine, when they travel out, they're doing fine. Their mates they live here most times are never doing fine and never can be on the same pace at the same pace in life with them everywhere. Personally, I've known maybe about 20 out of the 2019 are doing better than all of us, and they were not the most intelligent. Either you have somebody that helped you travel or your mother. So the environmental factor and the accessibility of what the governmental structure are placed in these places matters a lot. So you don't pick an element wrong in our system. Yes. You don't pick an element of one thing and now general. You pick all. So let's look at US security when Obama picked blacks. Let's look at Trump administration. They now place it head to head with Buhari. Nobody is saying. So if those things work head to head, and let's look at his campaign promises as when he was campaigning to Nigerians. If you look
at the campaign promises,
you even lash him more than this.
Because looking at his campaign promises and looking at
what is on ground,
he have not done anything. So it's unfortunate.
So I think in as much as it is not, Nigerians are the only people that find it difficult.
But I still believe that Buhari have opportunity to right the wrong.
Well, maybe you, but I don't see him as anybody that is changing from what is.
No, what I'm saying, because he still have up to 2 years to be in the saddle.
Okay.
So it's a function of what he decides to do with that 2 years. He can decide to turn a new leaf. He can decide to abide and obey the constitution to the letter, and you start seeing changes.
But in order to summarize this, Mr. Matthew, what do you think is the major problem? Is it an attitudinal problem of the society? Because Buhari has a relation, he has friends, the daughters travel, the children, he has cousins, he has auntie, he goes to mosque, he goes to church. When you check all our politicians from local government to state government to the governors, there was also a similar. Is it that Nigeria was not structured for the right thing?
I don't think it's about Nigeria. It's about the people who are managing the affairs of Nigeria. But if you look at Mr. President the way it is, I think it's a function of premeditated position.
Revenge.
Premeditated.
Some even said it's revenge. It came back from revenge.
Revenge, or because from what I can understand, if as a military head of state he had antecedent of oppressing the press. And we are seeing a semblance of that even as a democratic head of president. It tells you that this is who he is. It tells you that he's unlikely going to change. Because the way when you obey the constitution, it is not when it's convenient for you. Obey the constitution because it behoves on you. It's more honorable to obey the constitution because the rule of law say, leave this phone here. It doesn't matter whether it's convenient for you or not that this one should be here, but because the rule of law say leave it here, you leave it there.
Yeah, my director just signaled. So we have 2 minutes to round up.
Okay.
So just go on.
So what I'm trying to say is, let us abide by the rule of law, and let us allow the voice of people to be heard, and let us respect the people we are leading, and always listen to our subject. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Matthew, on the Pundit today, Friday. And my name is Effiong Samuel. So, Mr. Matthew is a great analyst and is a member of the Flip TV house. Anytime we call him, he's always responding to us. Mr. Matthew Obienose. Oluku Bienose. And my name is Effiong Samuel. Thank you, viewers at home.